Hey everybody, so this is lecture video 1 for 481 for week 5, and I've got on the screen here the three videos. Now the second one I just finished recording and processing. It's a bit long, so I do recommend that you maybe watch it in like 1.5 speed. That way it will cut it down considerably. But I review the OSHA exam that you guys took in week 3. Unfortunately, I ran into some issues and I got a little bit long-winded. I expected that one to only be like a half hour, 40 minutes. But what I'm doing is I'm explaining how I approach certain problems and how I find valid and reliable information. Video 3 recorded last week with my friend Jill James. It was a practice of a presentation we're going to be giving at the Minnesota and the Wisconsin safety conferences. And so it was our first run, and you get an example of how compliance officers can find information on the OSHA website. And I think that that also I covered a few things in video 2, and hopefully they're both very helpful as you work on your case studies. And if a focus of your case study is to prevent or mitigate an OSHA citation, then those videos are definitely for you, because I really get into how to properly calculate penalties and how to find other very relevant information, such as specific enforcement directives, compliance memos, things like that. So in this video, I'm going to review this plethora of case study and case study reports that I have, just to kind of show you my methodology and how I write up those reports. And then we've got a few bonus ones we'll look at that students have done based on just a little bit of information I've provided in this class, but you get even more than that and keep building on it. You need to, after this video, please go ahead and try to schedule a time. Reach out to whatever EHS professional you want to interview. I'll bring that up in a moment. But that's something we need to do right away, and I'm going to send an email out just so you guys start thinking about that, because some of you already have someone lined up, though we need to schedule it. And then for the rest of you, you get to select someone who's, a mentor of yours or someone at your workplace and interview them. I'll go into that first. And then we have real-world problem solving. I can show that too right after this, in which you have to determine the minimum clearance width for a new aisleway. So we're going to look at all these. We'll look at them one by one. I'll talk about it. One thing is, for your PPD this week, I want you to, after you interview them, go to LinkedIn, connect with them if you didn't do it prior to. And then after you've done interviewing them, please create a public post thanking them for their time. And please @ me. You can either do it in the header, or you can do it in a comment, and then I can see that you've done it. In the discussion board, you're going to share the results of your interview, so we all kind of see what people are saying, from different viewpoints. And then again, the problem solving is the aisleway. The verification code will come up here in a little bit, and the course binder, just keep adding the notes, because this is really valuable stuff. I think a lot of people underutilize the OSHA website because they don't understand how it's set up. I understand it from a compliance perspective and from a research perspective, and so that was kind of the foundation for this stuff. All right, so I'm going to get this out of the way. So for this week, here is the interview. Please come up that I set up. I've been trying to do this for the last several weeks, but then I talked to a couple representatives from Zurn LK. And they said, yeah, we would love to talk to some students. So I selected Noah, John, Hannah, and Brayton. The 4 of you are going to need to set up an email to Steve and Tyler. Send it to both of them, indicating UW Whitewater Occupational Safety student interview a safety professional. And then formally address them. Say, greetings, Steve and Tyler. Dr. Lusheen has assigned me to interview one, both, or someone you designate from your company this week. I'm really excited to learn from whoever you designate. You could provide a copy of this if you want, but there's only 6 questions. Some are questions to the mentor, other questions to you, and it's just a basic information here. But I want you to be very professional and courteous in your email to them. and requesting, what is your availability this week. If you have particular constraints on dates or times, please let them know ahead of time. And then it'll either be a phone call or a WebEx. And you can even ask them, would you prefer to set it up through your side, and just send it to me if you designate when you're available and looking forward to speaking with you. I say on here 30 to 40 minutes. It could be less. That it depends on how long it takes them and you to respond. And then you have to type up or write up the notes during this, and then you're going to be posting that on the discussion board. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions. For those of you who are not on this list, I left you off because you are working full-time and you had indicated that you do regularly speak to people or you have mentors you speak with. And so I want you to reach out to them in a similar way. If it's face-to-face, that's fine. It's totally up to you, but I want you to type that up and post it similarly. So please do this as soon as possible. I had sent this to them on Thursday, to Steve and Tyler, and I said, hey, if you want to designate people from your workplace to do this, that'd be fine. If you want to alter or edit the questions, let me know. And they'd never sent me anything on Friday. And so we're moving forward with, please just email both of them. You can copy me on it as well. I would appreciate that. All of you, when you request it, if you're doing it by email, please CC me, and my information's down here. So that's the interview. Please do that ASAP. I will send out an email with a copy of this document indicating I talk about it in the first video. So there's that. Next, the problem solving. So this is a real problem. After you watch the OSHA videos, it should help you. I'm going to let it show up here. Essentially, this question came to me right in the middle of some work that was being done, and I immediately asked them, well, what are you guys going to do here? And they didn't know. So this process is being moved from another part of the plant. This stuff has already been here. What is the minimum width of this aisleway to safely put it in? This is an electrical panel, and we should probably put some pylons here as well. Here's a permanent device here. The width of the biggest piece of equipment we have is 42 inches. Okay, that's all you need to know in order to make a determination. And I want you to use the skills you gained through videos 2 and 3 to write this up. Okay, in both, I think I provide ample demonstration of what I'd like you to do. Okay. So those are the two things I wanted to get through. Now let's go through. I know this is a bit long, but I try to show due diligence in finding answers and providing reliable and valid resources. In the OSHA Indiana Jones video, I hope you guys enjoy that. Because again, it's something that people have asked for. It's something that it took a while for us to develop where it's at now. It's going to go through several more iterations before we present it to the public, but it may be something that we actually post on a website to help people, because I do think it's helpful, because we've learned things and know things that the general practitioner doesn't know as being compliance officers and then becoming practitioners after that. So I hope you enjoy this. Let me know what you think. All right, so let's go through some of these. So these were some, I get asked to do mock OSHA audits from time to time from people, and I'm going to kind of show you a summary of my results. So I do take pictures and stuff like that, and I try to bring in visuals. Here's my executive summary. So this is this is 2018. That doesn't seem too long ago. It feels longer ago. I was asked to do a mock OSHA audit at a Badger State auto auction in Oshkosh. The purpose was to provide recommendations for developing written programs to improve their safety and health, basically to avoid OSHA citations. Based on my observations and online research, a total of 21 violations were documented and verified, resulting in 19 proposed citations. 12 serious, 5 other than serious, 2 de minimis. De minimis tends to be maybe programmatic, that really there's no hazard, but it would be good if they had it. And a total of adjusted penalty of $76,000 and change without any written documentation other than online reports. They were assigned a good faith discount of 0% with a comprehensive written safety interval. They would adjust it down to 53. So when you watch video 2, I go into how that would be calculated, and I think that's important. It would actually might be much higher now because the amounts, the gravity-based penalty amounts, have actually changed quite a bit year to year. The primary safety concerns are here. A lot of electrical issues. They should hire a licensed electrician to evaluate and correct those. Have proper safety cans for gasoline and transport are important. Determine the protection for visitors and patrons from contact with vehicles. It's pretty haphazard. And then they should also make sure that they are meeting all the requirements of Wisconsin DNR for stormwater runoff, because there was a lot of leaked fluids. All right, submitted by me. So the intro, I kind of give some background on the OSHA Act and when I came on site, why I was asked to come on site, the importance of documentation, particularly OSHA record keeping and other safety program elements, and that I looked up some other things because they tend to use this site, and I kind of explained what I saw, reviewed the documents, and I broke things down here. True safety program is built over time. That's my approach. Then I get into my methodology and the way I set things up and prepared, how I determine the penalty for each citation or violation. For each citation I wrote for the violations documented, and I provided my breakdown. So this is now 16,000 minimum. So these are maximum penalties. So it's gone up to 16 now. So that's about a quarter higher. How the penalty factors are calculated, I kind of break it down based on what it has in the field operations manual. Again, this has changed. It's higher now. And this is just a pure copy and paste from the field operations manual, chapter 6. Okay. Just how I calculated it all out. And then no previous OSHA inspection. This should actually be 0 now under the new classification. Again, you'll see this in the second video, but that would be 0. So they'd only get the 30%. So it'd even be higher at this point. Here's a summary of my citation and notification of penalty. So I have the actual violations I documented and evaluated, the severity and probability, the gravity-based penalty amounts that you start with, and then I applied the history, the good faith, and size, just like as prescribed under Chapter 6 of the Field Operations Manual. Here's the adjusted penalty amounts. I had 2 environmental ones that I'm concerned about, but I didn't give those an amount. So it started with 121, went down to 76. It should actually be 10% higher than that. So it would actually probably be more like around just 30% of that. Yeah, so it would be higher. Let's see. If this was an actual OSHA inspection, the player would have 15 days from receipt. So I kind of go into their rights and responsibilities post closing of the case. I don't know what I was going to use. So general recommendations for safety program improvement. This is just from some of the OSHA documents on how to set up a good program. Yeah, I have my professional disclaimer that I am not a compliance officer, but I was called in to perform one, but I used the knowledge and skills developed while a compliance officer. I got the citation and penalty amount, so I'll bring that up. Here's the penalty package or the citation package that I built, because I was able to replicate this for consulting purposes. So this is what they'd receive, but of course they say it's not an official OSHA document, but it reads and is built the same way, even how they reply to things. So here's a basic citation. So 1 of 1, it's serious. Here is the actual language from the standard, and I combined them, it looks like. Here's the description of the violation, and here's the penalty amount. Here's number 1, 2, it's serious. This was a general duty clause. Has to do with electrical. combine them to make it lower. Here is 1 of 3. So I've got the language from the standard, and then I've got the actual description of the hazard. And so I've got all these. It goes all the way down to the final summary here. Citation 1s were serious. Citation 2s were other than serious. Citation were de minimis. I didn't attach anything to it. Came to about 76,000. The next one should be the Excel document. So, of course, I want to build this in Excel so that I can do all these numbers without actually having to, do calculations that would didn't want to do any math errors. How does that sound? So here's my master list. Here's where I was calculating things out. I've got this down here. So I made all the determinations as stated in the field operations manual. Even selected an abatement period recommended for fix. I have some references there as well. Yeah. So then this is my work. So then I make it simpler to understand from their perspective. And then the items and groupings, I did the best I can based on my experience. Did I have anything else? Oh, I also did the presentation. So here's the presentation I gave, but it's in PDF. Summary of everything. Overall impression. I always try to be positive. Safety records and the importance of it. My data collection technique. And then pictures. This is the reason I like to bring this up is I bring in the language and the pictures of the violation. Electrical issues, some frayed wires, self-corrected, got extension cords that need repair, piggybacking, multi-strips, ground fault issues, fire potential issues, basically overloading circuitry. And it looks like they have some vermin issues, like unguarded issues below 7.5 feet, panel access issues, more issues, flammable liquid storage issues, working surfaces issues, and then we're getting into some of the more petty stuff like a bench grinder, a material storage, a clearance to exits, fire extinguisher mounting, compressed air issues, eye wash station issues, damage to structures, industrial storm permit. They didn't have one and they need one for the amount of leaked vehicular liquids that I saw. Typically oil-based. Vehicle struck by issues. The total citation amounts. Basically what it gives them is a to-do list. Things they should work on. And if OSHA was to come in, they can say, well, we had a mock OSHA audit by an expert, and we are working on these things, and this is our progress. And that may actually save them from actual penalties if they do that. So that was one of my jobs. This is another one. This was at Innovations Custom Doors in Wisconsin. It's an Eagle. My executive summary and breakdown. Their penalty amounts were much less. Their numbers were a lot less. But that doesn't mean they weren't mad about it. They were. He goes, I would never pay it. I'm like, well, then you'd be in big trouble, sir. Similar language. I've used this, with a lot of my different consulting reports. What I use as references, the methods I employed, similar language about how I calculated incidence rates. How I calculated the penalty amounts given the field operations manual. Here's a summary of their table. So started at 74, got it down to 25. Again, with the history, I may have misassigned that based on the criteria I reviewed in Lecture 2. So it actually may have been higher. Let's see. We did some full shift monitoring after the initial, and so I added that in here. Overexposure, we have some yeses, and so therefore my recommendations dealt with that. I also had a student do a, what do you call that? A motion envelope or a hazardous energy envelope in order to develop a solution that would not allow people to get trapped and possibly killed, struck by, or caught in based on this robot, and that they would rewire so they wouldn't have to use a stick to turn it on or emergency shut it off. So discussion and recommendations. I have some recommendations based on a hearing conservation program, what they need to do. I actually recommended that they use a noise canceling headphone since everybody listens to music. We talked about the safeguarding, only $1,000 to really put in something, and it should be interlocked so the system shuts off if somebody was to enter the gate. Put up some warning labels as well, very inexpensive. And then this would be a two-hand control, so if a person was operating it, they would need to hold on to it, but this is a more expensive solution and probably not as valid as the gate. So I wanted them to do the gate. Some other documents to correct things, how to write up a program, should they need the help. And then we've got the checklist and stuff, which I do have. Here is a copy of their citation package. Again, similar to what you'd get if it was actually cited. You can see here citum 1, 2. Citing the general duty clause, and then actual documentation of the violation. Get all the way down to the combined stuff. Here's the total other than serious. Yeah, 25 grand. So you have to complete this stuff. If you have to pay it, you have to sign this off, you have to post it, all that other good stuff. And then I think I've got their Excel document. So you have access to this stuff, you guys. You can use this if you want. If a mock OSHA audit is something you want to do for this class. Here we go. So I've got their master list, and I've got the CNP, and I think the CNP was more of a breakdown of things that if a condition was different and looks like it's the good faith, how much it would bring it down. Encouraging them to do the documentation stuff, and I've got the abatement and stuff there. So hopefully that's helpful for you. And then I've got the presentation, I think, of it. So all these are important documents. So summary of what I found, overall impression, try to provide a positive light on it. Specifically broke down their written programs and issues with it. Should help guide them as they build it. The safety policies, the data collection procedures. So there's a machine guarding issue. And I gave them resources. Here's the clamper robot, industrial robot, which needs better designed access to this and a block. Here's the noise monitoring we did. Wood dust potential is an issue. Cleaning, forklift battery, charging maintenance. I actually purchased this for a different company I worked for. These are acceptable. Anchor points for bench grinder, drill press. And so look at the debris. So they need better sanitation. They need to do JHAs if they're going to require PPE. They didn't have that. They need written programs like HAZCOM. They don't have a first aid program, especially since you're working with wood products. There's going to be slivers. Forklift driver training certification, they don't have it, but the people are trained. Don't have any OSHA record keeping. They don't have a load placard for overhead storage. Here's the citation summary and my recommendations. In the report, they took on some of these recommendations already. So all in all, that was a success. All right, next. Another mock OSHA audit. Oh, this one. So a company out of Janesville asked me to do a VPP audit. So it's a little bit different than your typical mock OSHA audit. I had to make sure I could find all the documents, so I would do this just like a compliance officer would do. So I've got my executive summary, my methods. The big thing is going through and coming up with scores for all the different areas. Injury and illness rates is something that's important, so I calculated those for them. Here's the rolling average, 3-year rolling average at the time. Here's their rates, here's their national average. So they're above on both categories, so they actually could not go up for VPP at this point in time. But I wanted to prepare them on what they could be working on over the years if it's something they want. So here is the worksheet we use. And so I scored it, and I provided a basis for my scoring. Okay. You can see we've got management leadership stuff. We've got more planning, authority, line accountability. This all came from interviews and observations. Some of it I didn't score because it wasn't part of it. So I was doing as much as I possibly could for them. What's this? Metro Leadership Miracle. So this is something they have to come up with as we go through. I'm just going to go scroll down. Again, this is the report. The presentation had more details in it, and I filled out as much as I possibly could, but it's something that they need to work on if they want to proceed. I didn't think they'd want to after the issues I noted. Here's the presentation I gave them. That it's the journey, not the destination. And I brought in a bunch of information I found on online, so they could see the scores and what the results were. Comments on the data analysis, comments on workers' compensation claims. I did the analysis here for them. Management interviews, what I found, what was lacking. Employee surveys, what I found, what was lacking. Comments on the visual inspection. So I did a wall-to-wall assessment for them. I didn't calculate violations or citations or penalty amounts. It was all VPP based. A roadmap for them, strengths, opportunities to improve, scenario for discussion, and just let them know it's a team sport. It's not something one person can drive. It takes everybody, and because that was one of the issues noted. So that's what I did for them, I think. Oh, then what I did is I provided you all, for your reference, some of the documents that I used to set up and conduct this mock VPP assessment. I thought you'd be interested. Here's a sample report that I had used. You can look at that. I don't need to show you that. Oh, and then I've got some bonus stuff. So this is some stuff that students did. So I had a student who needed to do a case study, and one of them is just go into a workplace and do it. And so he went to Home Depot in Verona and did a basic visual. He found 5 serious violations, 4 other than serious, determined penalties to be about $44,000. This intro could and should be a lot longer, obviously. He kept it basic. The methods, pretty good. So then he used the same sort of breakdown that I did. So he brought up the new numbers. Here, he did the calculations. These are updated. He did a good job. Here, he had to kind of just guess at the number of employees. All right, so let's see here. What did he determine? 0 for size, because I think he went corporate-wide. Yeah, he went nationally. Didn't feel like he could assess this. Good faith, wasn't sure history. So everything was pretty raw. He put in a few good faith. That's kind of interesting. But here was his totals. Made his recommendations. Would be good to see the presentation, though. Then you'd be able to see more of the details. But all in all, as far as for a case study report, it should have a little bit more information. But he did create he attempted to create the citation package. And so that's kind of a big part of it. The language, what he observed. The language, what he observed. Pictures are always better, though, especially when it's a virtual document. So kind of interesting, Here is another student for class. At her workplace, she did a basic mock OSHA audit. The executive summary is very brief. Found 7 citations totaled. Oh, they did 2 willful. Ooh, mean. Did a disclaimer. Introduction should be a lot longer. Methods, nice details. They did an OSHA pays. I don't like to use this, but you know what? It's her case study. Talks about penalties and how it calculated. That should be under methods. And then she created this. So she has a visual, the hazard, recommended solution. Visual, hazard, recommended solution. That's an interesting way to do it. And then recommendation. So it's very basic, but I appreciate, going in and following the penalties and trying to do all that stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. Is that everything that I wanted to go over with you? Let's see, we're at just like the 30-minute mark. We went through all these different documents, the problem solving and everything like that. Yeah, that's pretty much everything, you guys. So I do hope that if you're interested in doing a mock OSHA audit or a VPP assessment, reach out to me and I can, I've shared all this stuff with you and you can use it as a basis. I would expect you to. As early as possible, please contact whoever you're going to interview. 4 of you, I've assigned to you somebody from Zern, LK. The other 3 people, pick out people in your work environment. Let me know right away. But I am going to send out an email directly. Got the problem solving, and you're going to be posting things both on the discussion board and also thanking people on LinkedIn. I want to try to do this more, get you to use LinkedIn more. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, that's it.